Peace to all the human families of the planet Earth. You now tuned in live to Super Heru Radio. It's April 21st. Peace to all of the ancestors and all of everybody that's listening from here as far out as it can go. Bless all who have come and gone since the last time we spoke. Bless all of those who will come and go until the next time. Inshallah, bless all of those who can come into knowledge of themselves before they pass to this essence, so that way they don't have to come back to this cesspool and work out all of the physical meanderings that we are striving to free ourselves from. And may those who feel that they're doing whatever it is they're doing for the benefit of their people, even though it's not really providing or creating that, let them know that there's definitely a place for them too, but it ain't necessarily where I think the rest of us is going. So again, this is Super Heru Radio. You're now tuned in live. We're approaching, I think, officially the 6th year, 7th year, I don't even know anymore, of us being 365, or at least out of the 365, 360 days of whenever we come on bringing forth information that, inshallah, can help and inspire and get us to aspire to heights that we may not think that we can obtain. Speaking kind of fast because I don't know how long the charge on this damn phone gonna last, so we'll see. But either way, a lot of wild stuff has been going down, not only in the public eye, but beyond the veil of ISIS that a lot of us are not aware of, but regards to who or what is still adding on to the so-called public events that we see going down. There was a Bible, a Christian Bible, discovered in Turkey that goes back a long ways, and specifically they found it in the Ethnographic Museum in Ankara. And it's been kept quiet by the Vatican because, you know, they have created what is called the temporal powers over the so-called populace of the world. The temporal power is the power over the temporal lobe, or the temporal form of the corporeal form of what we call reality. So the creation of the mysticism of the Christ or Christianity that was created to confuse and still give energy to the so-called gods that existed before the three-headed beast was founded. The three-headed beast would be Christianity, Islam, and the religion of Islam, and Judaism, as quote-unquote religions that led to the killing and maiming of millions of people from the time each one basically set up its position. Yet all of them came out of an ancient, like Islam, the culture, our self-learned master, it's over 10,000 years old, you know what I mean? And it has nothing to do with the religion of Islam, but it shares components that are the same, like Muslims and Muslims can go to Juma or take Salat or Shahada or whatever, you know what I mean? Yet one is doing one thing and one is doing the other. And the subtleties are what make the overall, which leads to the mystery of the so-called religion, which keeps them popular. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to get into, you know, Islamic mysticism, you got to get into Bektashi Sufism or Mata Buddhism or Guana or stuff like that. You know what I mean? And, you know, most people, especially in the continent as well as over here, don't really know about stuff like that. So that's almost falling on deaf ears too. But for those that do go deeper in it, you have the Christian mysteries too. It's like you got the Hindu mysteries, like you know what I'm saying? Like there's different components to everybody's thing. But when it was one, let's say, empire, you know, we're dealing with something totally different. Yet the remnants of those people who are us that still exist, that part of our empire, that part of our history has been forcibly blockaded, both mentally and physically, in the minds of the people, in the minds of the youth. So with something like a Bible, a Christian Bible found in Turkey, you know what I'm saying, modern people be like, oh, that's crazy, because, you know, Turks are so-called Muslims, even though they're secular, you know. They got conned into giving up their whole, you know, religious aspect to become more Western, and that's how they got all messed up. But where they switched the feds for the derby, you know what I mean? Like, that's why when you see gangsters over here wearing derbies, the cops of the day in the Roaring 20s and the 1900s and stuff would call them Young Turks, because they was following the path of the Young Turks. That's how they was going against them, fighting against the Ataturk that was trying to get rid of they were trying to look at the Fez and all of that as being foreign, a Moorish, a Moroccan thing. They wanted a more Turkish identity that was just really based upon them being, you know, beyliks. You know, there were beys, there were beyliks, there were beyler beys. Like the history of Turkey is deep, man. When you really get into it, when you get into Osman Bey and all that, and the Dula Fakar, which the white people call the scimitar, which we call the sword that you see on the shrine of feathers. So again, you free and you a noble and all that, but you walking around with a sword at the top of your head. What does that say? It says that you under jurisdiction, you under an obligation that is not God given, it's man given, because the sword was only put above the head of the pagan, of the infidel. You know, so when the Parthian Empire, which is the Moorish Empire, was ruling the Babylonian Empire, you know, the pagans were the Greeks. See what I'm saying? Whereas when the white people in America, you know what I mean, was able to flip their whole thing between 799 and 1865 into this whole illusion by disinheriting and forcibly enslaving the true American constituency of the country that they had been brutalizing for 150 years up to them time, the infidel became the black man. You know what I mean? While at the same time that's happening in the United States of America in terms of, you know, them doing things to black people like that, they are being bound and enslaved by the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands by the Moors internationally in retaliation for what's also happening. But we're kept from that history because that history is dealing with Moorish or Barbary maritime history. And, you know, that has nothing to do with black people because, you know, the only pirates was people that looked like Johnny Depp, even though he had locks and a red scarf and, you know what I mean, a beard, you know. You know what I'm saying? So, again, because you are not supposed to have an identity or a national character, you have no political stance in anything and therefore can't prove that you existed in any of these historical exchanges that led to the present founding of the power structure that exists today, meaning you can't add on to it. See what I'm saying? Because you're functioning still from the illusionary history of the brutality codified under the term the Middle Passage. But the Middle Passage, if that's the Middle Passage, then what is the transatlantic slave trade? And if that's the transatlantic slave trade, then what's the Pan-African slave trade? And does that have anything to do with Pan-Africanism? Because it seems like all the great work these so-called Africans and these people was doing, putting down books and stuff, that's great. You know what I'm saying? All of that's great. But we never fell into a position where we were actually able to see if there was anything manifest out of that other than the books, other than the stories. You know what I'm saying? Like who do we have that's really alive, that's actually like, you know what I'm saying, like a leader, like Al Sharpton had the president and his shit. know what I'm saying? He did all of that with Tawana Brawley to wind up being a pundit on CNN. Like, that's what you wanted to do, be a pundit, get a TV show, have an action network that does no action for anybody really in the community that's not affiliated through some sort of fraternal or societal Rotarian type of organization. That's why they don't like the Moore Science Temple, because it's Rotarian without having to be so-called secretive. The secret is the fact that most of the people claiming to got it don't got it. We don't get the real secret till we off this mortal coil. So, I don't know. Yet having a cultural and a foundation, a founding identity, allows you to be able to have dialogue on a multi-aspect of communicational value. One, I'm talking, if I'm sitting there with a Phi Green cap, for those people who know what that is, if I'm wearing a Phi Green cap, something like that, and I'm sitting there talking to somebody regular, like I don't even have this thing on my head, it's up to that person to deal with whatever uncomfortability or intrigueness that they may have from it. But it's not for me to make that such a big focal point of the conversation that I somehow am now trying to outwardly dominate. I'm just going to get that because they don't see niggas like that every day. They still look at me as a nigga or whatever they've been bred to believe black people are up to that point, but they can't qualify this nigga, so this nigga must be some other type of nigga. See what I'm saying? Then when they find out that this other type of nigga is not a nigga at all, then what? Now you got to deal with me in a capacity that you're not used to dealing with niggas in, because in the United States, niggas represent people who are under the pain of death of the police based upon them being black, which, again, is a classified classist definition, not have anything to do with color. But because the white man don't have nothing else to stand on with it other than that, he got to make it about color because the law got to match the type, the rule got to match the type of law he under, and that's colorable law. He called himself a white man. That's what he called himself. But with the Negro, he said, because you out of your own mouth said to Dred Scott, out of your own mouth said you was a Negro, you have no rights that me as a white man is bound to respect. Because they're dealing with a slaver culture. But look at Django. The nigga Carl Candy, the white man, DiCaprio, was the basis of the whole pimp class. The whole pimp, the understanding of what a pimp is, came out of that classist aspect of white people who are down with this type of secret and maintained it through their allegiance to keeping and preserving the ignorance of the so-called niggas who used to be Moors or whatever with a noble class, but now that they gave up those estates are now claimed by these slave masters that now have papers on them to prove it. So the same niggas that owned the mansion 150 years ago is now the descendants. They descendants is cleaning up the damn mansion. That's what the story, the song Viva La Vida by Coldplay is about, when he talks about how I used to rule the world. Read the lyrics to that song. It's all about the fall of the Moorish Empire. But again, that's from the perspective of me, somebody who understands what a Moor or a Muslim or Al-Moroccan or Al-Maghrebian is. You see what I'm saying? Asiatic is. Because I know that Asia, when the world was called Asia, that was when that side of Africa and this side of Africa was linked up, symbolized by the two hands shaking in unity. But now that they split up, the people who are calling themselves African, who are acting like the progenitors of so-called American-born blacks here, they're acting as our progenitors when really we're the ones that's culturally bringing them up, bringing them higher. Lapita could have won an Oscar in Africa. You wouldn't have gave a damn. The only reason why you gave a damn is because Hollywood gave a damn. And that happened here. She had to come here to do that. She probably won an Oscar in Africa. You don't know. You give a fuck about it until you see that she was doing basic soft porn in Africa. Basically, everybody on Mimi, this bitch was basically getting raped on screen every week on a TV show in Nigeria, some shit. But nobody know that. Nobody care about that. We only care now that she's next to Jared Leto. Is she fucking Jared Leto? that's what niggas is at. You don't know. And that's the thing. That whole movie was about Africans being brought in here as slaves because all of the actors were Africans. There was no real African American. The Americans on it was the Europeans. And we know that the original definition of American were the original copper-colored races and dark-hued people that existed in North, Central, South America, but in later days was replaced by colonizers to mean people from Europe today. So because they came and killed enough of your ancestors, we supposed to be okay with them ruling over us now. That's the agreement. That's the agreement that people make to live here, no matter what so-called hue you are. But again, in a colorable society, you got to fall in some sort of color. And if you don't fall in a sort of color, then it goes to the second aspect, which is race. So then if the race is not Negro or black, it's got to be something else. So this Creole, they got a number for every so-called nationality and racial construct that you could think of. I only give a damn about 2. 667 and 463 for Moor and Asiatic. You dig? Because all them other ones are hybridized versions of those 2. That's the rub. That's the whole trick in the whole thing. And nobody can prove that it's not. People say that it's not, but they can't prove that it's not. A great Moorish etymologist, Abdullah, of our time, said in one of his dissertations, like, yo, they using words, when they say Moor, they using the Greek term for that. Greek meaning of that, which means black. But guess what, nigga? There's no such thing as a Greek. There's a Macedonian. There's a Minoan. You know what I'm saying? There's a Spartan. There's an Athenian. You dig? This whole transliteration of Greek is a byproduct, really, of the Ptolemaic period. But that is really Macedonian script, which means it's Carthaginian script because both of those came out of Phoenicians, and we are ancient Phoenicians. They just celebrated Astarte, Ishtar, yesterday, didn't they? But they make you think that it's about a man getting killed. Then why he in the same pose that Ishtar in? Why his hair just as long as hers? You know? But whatever. But essentially that's the trade up. Everything is flipped over into this whole illicit aspect of how the society's supposed to work. But they don't know. It's been working like this. It's just different people in the driver's seat, right? You know what I'm saying? So from 1779 to 1855, that's the height. That's really the height of the white man in the world establishing himself as a colonial power, as a world-dominant person with a fictitious history and God to match. And now all of the people who have been ruling over him and slaying him from the time that he came out of the experiment and manifested or whatever out of the caves and was civilized, whatever. They create a structure of impermanence that has now become a classic occurrence of something that can't be, qualified, but now only thought of in an inferior sense, meaning everything that's national and political and self-political and actualizing about us as Moors or people who subscribe to us being an Asiatic race, you see what I'm saying, are a part of something that is a little different. So then when you hear stories about people like everybody talk about Yaqub, but when you look at the story of Shabazz and those people who decided to live a jungle way of life because he wanted to make these people more hard and toil in the earth and all of that, the only jungles in the world, like I said, predominantly have always been over here. So when he was talking about the deep jungles of Africa, he talking about all the artifacts and the stuff that was over here that was transported over there. That's why books like When Rocks Cry Out can be plausible if modern scholars or archaeologists take into account the fact that from the time before Reconstruction on history is something that took place across the world, man. Everywhere where there was a Moorish contingent or reality of melanated people that had a quasi or full Moorish culture, meaning one with a nobility, an aristocracy, an inheritance, a nationality, a god, a divine creed, so forth and so on, were made to believe that that culture was inferior to the predominant European ones that were using the fact that they had now acquired these Moorish lands and dominions and now enslaved these Moors to take them to these places that weren't under their jurisdiction to now corrupt them and make them think that the world had fallen to these people. The practice of Moors using Europeans, meaning Franciscan Moors, as well as their Caucasian, as well as their Eurozoid, or what people would say Caucasoid, Freemason squires as well. These are the ones that became part of the whole scheme. You know what I'm saying? It's a working relationship with the so-called black man and the white man, like you saw in that movie Django. Showed you straight up. These niggas will allow you to get flayed alive with this white man to get money and to keep you from accessing your true self. That's just reality. How many more dresses can Tyler Perry put on? How many more gay references can Marlon Wayans or these type of people do? You understand? How many more slave movies you get? Now they're coming out now. Will Smith, you letting your son, of all of the roles to play, he got to play the role of the young gay slave, the young man boy slave, who happens to be with John Box Brown, the mulatto or white, so-called white abolitionist, who was really fighting for white freedom as well. That's the role you let your son play. So again, I can't judge another man. I could just look at the action and be like, you're playing yourself, buddy. That's not a judgment. That's an assessment. If it comes a judgment, if I really cared about this person as an individual, but I could never do that because he's not a real person. He is an agenda that has been nurtured by the society that I live in to become an idol for me to pattern myself after. That's what all of these people are. There's no such thing as a Beyonce. There's no such thing as an Oprah. These people don't really exist. Have you ever seen them in the store with you or whatever? And even when you have they ever been themselves? How would you know? They're actors. There's some actors that just get dressed up, put on a baseball cap or whatever, be in the street all day just to see if somebody talk about them. That's how obsessed for attention these people can be. And this is who you're patterning your whole life after? That doesn't make sense. But if I don't use references such as that, there may be a contingent of the listenership that may not understand the full meaning of what I'm saying. So again, these people have these uses for everybody. You know what you call something that has a use for everybody? Everybody has a use for a tool. That's why they call fallacious women hoes, because it's a garden tool. It's a tool. This is how they have modernized and domesticated our minds to associate people with words. There is no definition for me. The only earthly definition you maybe could use to describe an aspect of me is more, because that's a verb as well as a proper noun. You know what I'm saying? It's a vibration. That works for me because I'm dealing with I'm striving to deal with the true hyperdimensional cosmic sense by still maintaining the earthly presence. You see what I'm saying? It's like today, like when you read people and you hear these scholars talk about, well, we need a matriarchal society. That's where, the woman says it. Do you really want a society where it's just a woman telling you what to do? Even women. Would you want to live in a society with just this one chick who dictates what it is you do? Nah, but that's what they gearing you up for with Juliette Lewis from Seinfeld. She's in the movie Veep. They're gearing you up for the Hitler Palin thing. They can't go back to a white man after this. You can't get no Chinese man in there. People not ready for that. Just gonna be like, oh, he's an agent of China. That's how people are. You can't get no Arab in there right now. It's still too hot in the Middle East. They still owe too much money to the oil people. So what are we gonna do? It either got to be a woman. It can't be a gay man. They can't have a gay president yet. An open gay president. Not just saying say that they ain't the presidents that's gay. We're not saying that. I'm talking about an open. Like, nah, they can't do that. So who they gonna get? A Mexican? You can't do that. Because then what they going to say, oh, he's set up by the cartel. You see what I'm saying? There's always a stigma that they got with whatever you are, regardless of what you are. So you better be yourself or be associated with something that really quantitatively they don't really have and know that they don't really have jurisdiction over. They just hoping enough people don't catch on. So they got their disinformation agents, they propagandists out in the hood, letting people know. People who look like them, let them know. But remember, Shabazz, if we look at the story in the Theology of Time by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he talks about Shabazz taking his people to live a jungle way of life, to make them harden, to make them have to breathe. When you can't sleep, when you sleep in the jungle, you got to sleep in a hut. It's very hard to sleep outside because all of the plants is sucking up all of the H2O, so it's just nothing but carbon dioxide that you really breathing in. So you could die from that. So you got to build something that's made of the material that of the environment that you are, like the hut or whatever, that has a natural deterrent from that, and then create the fire. You see what I'm saying, or the dampness of it to create more moisture in the air for you to breathe. So these people, again, in living in an environment like that, you got to take deeper breaths. You see what I'm saying? Nostrils get wider. When you read about look at some of the glyphs on the Yucatan Peninsula, you see images of people being bonded with like monkeys and stuff. So this isn't to say that our people were bonded with monkeys, but it is to say that there were traits and habits of these animals and these beasts that we had to, in some ways, imitate in order to survive in such a harsh environment. Even Tarzan had to swing from the vines, man. You know what I'm saying? Nigga, you don't ever see Tarzan walking through the jungle. You can't just walk through the jungle. You gotta and then when you do, you can't just be walking straight, like with your eyes straight. You gotta be like all over. That's why people get lost. But people take the jungle for what they see in movies like Anaconda and Raiders of the Lost Ark and all that. And there's parts of it that is that, but there's parts of it that's different too. Take a jungle about 250 to become a forest. So you figure the country is 228 years old. That's why there's still some parts of the country that's still trying to break out and be free. These national parks keep getting bigger. Because the lease for the Western man is up. He got to go. And it's a mentality. You dig? So as much as people talk about, the slave culture, the black nigga being enslaved and all that, there were way more white people globally being enslaved during the times of what we call slavery. But again, what are we talking about? Atlantic slave trade, the Middle Passage, right? The Triangle Trade. Which one is that? What is all that? Which one? And which one happened when? Depending on what era you grew up. You know what I'm saying? There's a different reality because, again, the definition of black got to keep changing the more you keep figuring stuff out. It got to become more expansive, but the more expansive it gets, the less inclusive it gets, the more isolated it gets, and it always based upon what you know about yourself. So you could call yourself a Dominican and all that. At least you got a passport, a flag or something. But, again, that flag was given to you by the same devil. You know what I'm saying? But it was given to him by a black devil. You dig what I'm saying? And the same people is the same ones promoting the same thing. If you the one causing confusion now, you probably the same one that's causing confusion back then. That's just how it is. If you the one trying to work it out now, you was probably the one trying to work it out then. The soul pattern is the same. The circumstances and the experiences is what change it into what it's going to be. So you are the only one that can sell your soul. You can't sell somebody else's soul for them. You could put somebody's soul up and then try to create an environment for that person to eventually sell their soul, and then boom, you get relieved. But that's just one person. When you sell your soul, you get 7 years, and at the end of that 7 years, if you ain't produced 7 other people to sell their soul, then you get 7 years worth of hardship. That's just how their world works. Their world works on a certain wavelength and rule. That's at a low 6 hertz field. And people who zone into that, they want to bond genetically with, so that way they can give them the herpes or whatever, so that way that entity now is the anchor to that community. Why you think this, as soon as this so-called starlet dropped the rapper, she wound up with a basketball player, and then from the basketball player wound up with the actor, and then from the actor back to the rapper? Like they boxed in. They live in a boxed society. That's how they work their thing. That's why they all able to share the same money. Look, me and my queen work hard, man. We work hard for very little pay, yo. And the little we get, there'll be niggas that will say one thing to my face and to the people, but then when they get in other ciphers, something else. You know what I mean? Oh, he shouldn't be this. Oh, he shouldn't be that. But what's the quality of the knowledge? Yo, that shit is upstairs. Oh, so you just want to just get it. Cool. There are people who have been bred to do like that. And again, read that story of Shabazz, man. It's deep. And if we're from the tribe of Shabazz, this represents both of us. Because we're both Asiatics, we both walked out of the triple stage darkness, but those of us that chose to walk into the physical darkness became more bonded with the earth and therefore started functioning on a different vibration than we did over here. And after the split, the water around there on that side of the world went counterclockwise. The water over here on the side of Africa went clockwise, goes clockwise. So you wonder why they wanted to bond and group everybody under the same slave story. You see that? Remember, it says that they put different tribes and different people together. How they know what tribes was what? How they speak Wolof? Who taught the Portuguese Wolof? Who taught the Portuguese Swahili, Kiswahili? Who taught them Arabic? Okay, I'm sorry, babe. Who taught them all that? Where they get that from? How come I was watching something tonight and I was watching shit with Nas, and he's sponsoring Hennessy now, so they brought him over to France, to Cognac, France, so that way they could build on a cognac and all that. And they said he's there with a family that's been there for 8 generations. So that's 8 generations. So this is the 21st century, the 20th century, the 19th century, the 18th century, the 17th, the 16th, the 15th, 14th. So that means prior to the 14th century, the family was black because the Moors was the ones who brought forth the cognac and all that come out of bourbon and all that. That's dealing with the spirits now. That's dealing with liquimancy, alchemy. A lot of bourbon and beers and stuff like deep cognacs and all that got deep spirits in them, especially the darker ones. But that's a whole different science that modern people won't even believe unless they put a movie in it with Russell Crowe or one of these white people in it. Then one of these Negroes will do a DVD on it, and then that's when it becomes plausible, right? Right. But this stuff been going down. So boom, they take him there. Then I'm watching some TV show, and they got some chick from one of these shows. They took her to the same place. So I guess that's what this family's doing this year. You're getting American Negroes that's famous to come over and get their own yak. That's cool. Any melanated person getting money out of the system, I applaud you. It's just, it's a long road to hoe if you really get in with them people like that. Because again, this is people who do business every day, who have no qualms about what they're really doing. You understand? Because that's how Western society. Read The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, a.k.a. Adam Weishaupt. Read that, man. It's arduous. It's a really boring read, but if you really want to do the knowledge and see how they shit, read that shit, man. And this is what they've based their whole economic system on. The psychological aspect of it came through Hobbes and Malthus, and then Freud and Nietzsche. Their stuff is very simple. And these people again were deeply deranged, man. Nietzsche was trying to have sex with his sister, man, like all the time. To the point he almost got arrested. Like they, like a lot of these people were deeply disturbed, deeply sick, man. Freud and this other one, I forgot the other dude's name, they had a whole bet going with this patient that they was both having sex with. Like, these dudes was crazy. What's his name? Marison, the father of gynecology, this guy, this sadist, he was experimenting on quote-unquote black Negro slaves, and he was not using anesthetic or nothing. He's cutting them open, and he wound up, if they died, he just got another one. He didn't try to drug them, give them alcohol, nothing. Man, this is the dude who came up with the cure for a certain type of ovarian cancer based on this. He's the one, the whole stirrup things and all of that. This dude was doing that with no anesthetic, with no iodine, with no Benadryl, none of that. Literally killing these women. But, at least we have gynecologists now, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to. Right? We're supposed to just forget all of that as melanated people, right? We're supposed to say, well, at least I get my pap smear every month. Like, okay, whatever, man. If you don't care, they don't care. Every year, whatever you see, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I just know the history. You see what I'm saying? And this is what I mean, man. This is what's going down. This is what's been happening. What's the outlet for us? Now, all of us went into the jungle with Shabazz, man. Those of us that didn't stayed in the incorporeal form. Meaning we could be half light, half not. Whereas the worker gods became that. So when you read the story of Enlil and Enki and all that, it's all the same story, man. The whole Prometheus thing, that's all the same story of the old empire, man. Like, think about that. You say, oh, well, I'm not a Moor. Okay, so you're not noble. You're not honorable. You're not into love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. Don't take it like a diss. oh, you don't like Noble Joe Ali because what? What did he ever do to you? But leave something for you to do the knowledge to. At least he left you a receipt. He gave you something nobody else can give you but really a Jew. Got the benefits of a religious aspect, but functions solely through an ecclesiastical. And ecclesiastical means original jurisdiction because God has total dominion over everything. There's nothing in this universe or any other universe that the creator of the universe or the universes didn't create. Nothing. That's the original jurisdiction that we come from. That's the jurisdiction I'm under. You know what I'm saying? It's simple. Niggas be making it real complicated. Because niggas are a figment of our imagination. They don't even exist. Not how we think. We are just perpetuating an idea of what we have made niggas become. But the original niggas, the real niggas who started on this planet, these was the ones that that Abraham and Imhotep had to come up with the pig with to send them up there. Get the movie Troll Hunter. Those are the original niggas. There's a movie called 47 Ronin. And in that, Keanu Reeves plays the only white man on the Isle of Ancient Japan, meaning Moorish Japan. And they call him a demon. The whole movie, they call him a half-breed, a demon, a half-caste. They don't even think he's human. The emperor, who was wearing a gold fez, the emperor, when he saw it, he said, kill it. And again, I'm not trying to diss anybody that's Caucasian listening. I'm just saying, when I see images and imagery on movies and stuff where they really keep it real and how people really see, that's an aspect of white culture. I don't think white folk ready to see yet, man. They've been so used to just always knowing that they've owned everybody on a subconscious level. You understand? At least for the past 228 years, to be specific. At least for them. They've become so used to this idea, being above and beyond and being the embodiment of everything, even though they know they're not. You understand? They know they're not. They know it. But there's an element where the complexion provides the protection in a colorable society. And the Western world is a colorable society. It is. Like I said, they found the oldest Bible in the world in Turkey, written, I think, in Arabic. One of the oldest ones written in the world in Arabic. The pages is like brown leather. This book says that Jesus ascended to heaven alive without being crucified, and Judas Iscariot was crucified in his place. And it said that the crucifixion that he went through was actually a hanging, like it say in Acts. As a Moor, you need to be reading the Bible from Revelation as the first book and the other ones that came later, because they represent the societies that'll found after, like in the movie Noah. It said that the text actually also provides the time, the arrival of the last Islamic Messiah. And the fact that hasn't happened, or did it. It was found in Turkey. And again, that was part of the old Moorish Empire. So again, we got something to do with it. The Catholic Church experts in the content of the book in the Catholic Church. It is believed that the Catholic Church and the Council of Nicaea, selection of the Gospels that form that part of the Bible, the leading some of the possibly including this, the Gospel of Barnabas. So the Gospel of Barnabas, again, was the one that got into the fact that, Judas was really put on the cross and the cross wasn't a cross at all. It was actually a tree. So it makes sense, the fact that they would always lynch so-called black men or niggas from trees, you know. This is what they do. Crowley had a so-called Negro altar. We had the bones of a so-called, he had a Moorish figurine that was like standing upside down on its hand, and it was balancing on the top on the underside of the feet is where the table would go, and on top of that table he had all of these slimy so-called Negro bones on it. You understand? Exactly. The Queen just brought me in, and they at the part of National Treasure where they come into the Egypt, where they found the actual crypt with all of the artifacts from all of the old Moorish Empire, with all of the scrolls from the Library of Alexandria. Right. So I'm supposed to believe that the White Templars, who was having sex with each other and dogs and shit, these was the ones that brought all of this to America? Oh, and they got the eye. The same one I'm wearing, eye over the pyramid. The same one I'm wearing on this chain, this amethyst bead chain I got on. This is what I mean. He said, look at this bluish-green man with the strange-looking goatee, talking about this statue that's more with a fez on. But I'm not supposed to wear it. I'm not supposed to associate with that. These niggas is obviously talking about me. Like I said, this nigga Crowley had the Negro altar where everybody had to have sex in front of it. You understand? These are the same Negroes that's joining up with the Scottish Rite, doing these rituals, don't even realize they're doing rituals against their own ancestors. But, of course, in the movie, the white man is the one that comes to the bottom under America to find all of the artifacts from the old Moorish Empire from all over the world. Wow. And they just happen to be Freemasons, right? Oh, but it's just a movie. One day, inshallah, it's going to be revealed. And everybody going to be like, wow, I guess we were Asiatics. I guess Jesus was an Asiatic. Because, again, Asia means what God had made, or what God has made. And those gods who descended onto the plane of the physical after the destruction of the upper dimension, fell down into the third dimension, and from that we had to raise ourselves back up. So we used the earthen works and all of that to create the mechanisms for us to channel ourselves back to the higher realities. But some of us decided to spend more time in the physical aspect, and those eventually became the people we today call Africans. And some of us chose not to. That's why the Africans have the unity, because they had to instinctively be together. They were a type of Asiatic that basically cut off the Merkabic aspect of them and chose to deal with it through an emotional and a sensation more than a conscious reality and a conscious knowing of it. And that's the difference between us today. Till we just accept that that's what happened as two sides of the tribe of Shabazz, that's what it is. At least that's what I'm understanding it is. And as you can see, I'm talking about something that has nothing to do with the Caucasian at all. This being did not even exist at the time I'm talking. We started having problems with each other. This thing wasn't even real. It didn't even exist. Nobody existed. It was just us. That's real. Unfortunately, you have so-called black people today that go out of their way to be multicultural without even establishing what they have accepted their culture to be. It's easy to get a white girl. It's easy to get a white man, right? It's easier to do that because color doesn't exist, right? It doesn't exist in America. Nobody is being brutalized because of the color of their skin, right? Right? And it isn't just one color or section of the population that's doing that to them, right? It's not like the majority of the police that's brutalizing these people are Caucasian, right? If we've said no to any of those questions, then again, you're putting your own self and the whole situation at risk. For sake of going against something, you don't even understand what you're going against. You don't even understand it. Black people are still dealing with this thing on the basis of, like I said, the color. The color is the byproduct. That's the byproduct of what's really going on. This schism that started between us started way back, man. Even before the Yaqub shit. Yaqub was after that. We're talking about a separation. And out of that, this side of Asia became northwest, southwest of Mexico. And that side of Asia became Africa. Or northwest, southwest Africa, and over there became equatorial, eastern, western, north, and south Africa. Think about it. How can you be a South African? A South African, what you're saying is that the designation that is used to describe you is a direction. So you're saying that you're a directional African. Now, this is not to disrespect. At the same time, it's not disrespect the nationality, but the nationality was created by a government that was using genetic, racial profiling, biogenetic drugs to target melanated people and recess their genetics. That apartheid system was horrible, man. Shit was really bad, yo. It was just as bad as what's going on, what happened in Rwanda and all that. It was just as bad as what was going on in Cuba. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing, just as bad as what happened under the whole Pinochet thing. Because that happened in Africa. Central America is Central Africa to us. The jungles is over here, man. In Africa, you got the bush. So again, this is not to say that one is better than the other. It's just to say that the people who understand themselves as Moors and Asiatics, based upon what was brought to us or reinvigorated in us by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, peace be upon him, we are the ones that are now putting together the ancient and mythic history that the so-called white man has left out for us based upon him not being able to control with information anymore. And the people who don't accept that are the people who are still functioning under some sort of color paradigm, some sort of inferiority complex paradigm based upon all the brutality and terrorism that these people are still perpetuating against us. But they're not just perpetuating against us, they're perpetuating against their own people too. It's just they don't put that on the news. The news is slanted in your favor too, on an ironic way. Remember, America loves an outlaw. So there's no more of an outlaw than a black man. So the only way that they could destroy that was by making the black man put on a dress and shit like that himself. You see what I'm saying? And that altered the image. Because up until then, the image of the black man was just this dominant, even if it was savage, this dominant, giant, like, animal. Now it's an effeminated animal. See what I'm saying? Still an animal, still marketed as an animal. They still selling drugs and shit like that and all that shit that we had to do growing up in the hood. They still trying to make that shit look cool because we made it look cool. We didn't know nothing about L.A. until Boys in the Hood came out. Just like L.A. and them ain't really know nothing about New York and all that till Do the Right Thing and all that shit came out. Really, really like that. I remember bumping Far Side or getting the early Far Side stuff and niggas around me telling me that shit was whack. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole different perspective going on. You know what I mean? Than we are really understanding, but we're not engaging in that because we don't have any voice as a concerned constituency, its own community with its own rules, its own dialect, its own speech, its own way of commerce. We don't have that. We give it to everybody else. If you want to have Italian food, you go to an Italian restaurant. You want to have Persian food, you go to a Persian restaurant. It used to be black women was in the kitchen making stuff, and they wouldn't even know that that's what that stuff was, because that's where all that stuff came from. Because all of these people in these so-called regions here, even if they was there as Indians, descendants as quote-unquote Indians, like the ones you see in Apocalypto, even if they was there for 1,000 years, they, again, were brought over there by your people who were already here. We are the old Meccans. The Olmec, like that was our thing. So Mexicans and the people could try to claim that, you know, they could use it as a logo or whatever they do, but they know that that's not their ancestor, and they're into the whole Opus Dei Catholicism thing, that whole cartel thing, you know, that whole Santissimo Muerte, you know, worshiping death and providing bodies for the demon and all that. Like that's what they into now. That's why so many Mexicans are coming over here. But they're also bringing that shit over here. You know what I'm saying? The Chinese got their own community. They got a Chinatown in every community in the world. That's just how they rock. And that Chinatown is under the nationality of China. That's how it works, yo. We are the only so-called people that have an actual card, or a temple card of nationality that defines what our nationality is. So you can say whatever it is, but whatever you say is still contradictory to what I have provided to say I am. It's not about what you say I am. It's about what I say I am. And then you to verify that. So you could investigate me again all you want. All you want is people, oh, yeah, he's a Moor. That's what he is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a communist. I'm not a fascist. I'm not a segregationist, an integrationist. I'm not none of that. I'm just a Moor. That kind of sums up it all. But based upon the asker, the beholder's understanding of what that is, you see, depends on how limited I then become. That's how it is. They have taught us to dehumanize each other with words, based upon what we say we are, not what they say. If they say we're this and we apply for it and say that we're that, and that's what we are, then they control us. But if you define what you are and you declare what you are, then they can say all they want. But in a court of law, you have already shown, you see what I'm saying, before the fact, ipso jure, that you are who and what you say you are. Yeah. These people got it twisted. You got people. You have, like I said, you have a situation where our community has started to actually pattern itself after how what we saw or what we were taught that movies were or debates were supposed to be like. Look at that movie, The Great Debaters. How it was. You see what I'm saying? And then what it is, it became with us. It became a thing about disproving everybody and everybody feeling that their version of what it is what it is. So you can say what you want. You could be whatever you want to be. Where's your card that shows and proves that? Where's the proof in a record in a court of law, in a record or filing or anything that says that you're that on paper? Because on paper they say that you Larry Smith. On paper, they say that you Leroy Johnson. So you can be, Ra Akamanan Nefer, whatever. People, all of that. But on paper, nigga, your name is Leroy Jackson. That's what's going on. So Leroy Jackson going to jail. So this other nigga, I don't know who this other nigga is. That's some other nigga that you don't have. Right, tell him. The queen say, yo, tell him to write you when you in me. I don't know who this other nigga is, but this nigga Leroy Johnson, he going to jail. And that's how they do niggas, and that's how they been doing niggas. It's only when you actually got something that's already out there where they be like, damn, okay, we fucked up fucking with this one, so let's try to just flip it into this. That's what happens with real Moors. Then with the true Moors, there's not even no issue. You don't even really interface with them like that. Your issue is going to come from people who, you know, are trying. The only way that they mess with you is try to keep getting you to prove the same point. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to keep going back and forth with them with correspondence. Like, I wrote a letter to the U.S. Court of Appeals, and they addressed me in my proper capacity up until the actual body of the letter, the point in which they're addressing me, the individual. So what that means by law, in terms of grammatical law, is that the corpus, which is the body of the note or letter, is actually under an inferior jurisdiction to where the actual mailing, the general post, in the capacity that they know that I'm in, is supposed to get. So in some way, they've still tried to disassociate me from myself. All in the letter. But if you don't know how to read, you see what I'm saying? Really read a letter, how a letter is structured, how a document is drafted. These niggas don't know how to do none of that, man. And even when they do, they just really cutting and pasting what they've already known how to do, what's already out there. But what are they contributing to show and prove their aspect of perception of what the actual purpose of what we're doing is actually about? It's a divine and a national movement. It's both. So if this person, this judge, sees divine as religious, then so be it. Just give me my judgment so I can keep it moving. If this judge sees it as ecclesiastical, great, so be it. Just give me my decision so I can get up out of here. You dig what I'm saying? These niggas getting caught up between, oh, this egg is brown and this egg is white. So this egg got more melanin in it, so this egg going to taste better. Like, come on, man. It's a fucking egg, yo. It's a goddamn egg. You understand? I'm hungry. That's the bottom line of shit. Niggas don't want to get to the root of it all. As much as Christophe, the one of the last emperors of Haiti, was doing, and Desanya and them was doing, in the end, the last one wanted to be down with the white man, just like get the movie The Last Emperor, about the last emperor of China. Get that movie. Show you how they flipped them niggas in Manchukuo. Manchukuo was actually supposed to be the Jewish homeland. That was supposed to be the real Israel, for those people that don't know. Jews know, though, but they ain't telling you. They were supposed to be moved from Khazaria into Manchukuo, or in the name of the puppet emperor that had grew up in the Forbidden City, the last one to grow up in the Forbidden City, under the old Moorish rules, where he barely even touched the floor. They carried this nigga everywhere. But again, because he held the blood of Fuhai, and Fuhai is the jet black god who rides the black dragon. That's what the Tongs deal under. Some of them treat him like a form of the way the Hindus would do Kali, the Thuggis would do Kali. But that's the god, that's the Moor that we descended from. All their gods is black. The only black god in the world is the god of the Western world. It's a white man and a white woman. That's the only so-called white god in the world. Even the ancient Celtic gods, Tutates, and these is all black. Cuchulainn, who became St. Gregory in the Catholic Church. These niggas don't know. All Moorish science is world history. What you call world history, I call Moorish science. I just know how to identify it with the Moors, because I'm beyond the whole fact that, okay, in the Game of Thrones, that during this time, everybody was white. They've been pulling that on me since G.I. Joe. You know what I'm saying? But now that I know, okay, these people could not have been, based upon the fact that at the time these people who were claiming this and were of that were under the jurisdiction of these people. Where was they getting the velvet? Where was they getting the Murex dye to make the purple robes that Queen Elizabeth was wearing? Where'd she get that from? Who made that? The white slave from Slovenia? Come on, man. Who taught her how to do that? That's what they was rocking in Slovenia. Even when you get into the national side of even places like that, it was still Moors, it was still black people, melanated people. So again, I could go anywhere in the world and feel at home because that's where I'm supposed to be. That Earth is where was the dominion of the true Moors. Earth. You see what I'm saying? Anywhere on Earth. EARF, Earth. Or URTH, Earth. You know what I'm saying? The real shit, like real talk. These ain't trying to live like that no more. So again, those of us that do, there got to be a place for us, right? I'm not just talking all this shit for nothing, right? Maybe I am. Who knows? We'll find out. But even still, it's what you define yourself as. So I know what the basics, the layman aspect of a Moorish Science Temple is. I know what that means of America is to anybody else or whatever. I don't not converse with other Moors that I don't, you know what I'm saying, in other temples and stuff because I don't want to. It's just that I'm functioning from an aspect of the fact that we are the temple. So any representative that's coming at me sideways because he don't believe Moorish, the green fez is too much of an ancient symbol of Moorish science, more the red because, you know, the red represent the government. But I was like, yeah, but in some of the early times, the L's wore the red, wore the green, and the Bays wore the red. Like, yeah, more, but, you know, we way away from that and blah, blah, blah. We supposed to be the new. I'm like, yeah, but you like 50-plus years old. Like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? It can't be you. You can't be the new Moor that the prophet was talking about in 28 that would come and tell the old Moor to sit in the back. It can't be you. Not because I think any less of you or you are not intelligent enough to do it, but it can't be based upon the time that you've been on the earth. It got to be either my generation or the people after us, our children. So the Moor told me, he said, look, if you don't do it, it ain't going to get done. Straight up. Straight up. Fuck all the marching, fuck all the, you know, lecturing, debating. Like I'm not, look, man. We had a crucial point. So my thing is, like, we just got to continue to do what it is we feel the best to do or what we can do. So that way, at that great getting up morning, we can actually say, well, I did this because I thought it was right for me and my people. Because that's what I believed I was based upon all the shit that was. I can say that. You dig what I'm saying? With no volition, even if I'm wrong. What if it turned out that the white man was God? Then what? Fuck it. At least I went to the fucking version of the grand architect, right? And gave him the thing and said, no, nigga, I'm going to have a God in my image out of the triple stage black that was so black that it was white, that it was light. So thank God we live in a reality where that could never be true. You see what I'm saying? Because if that could be the case, the nigga wouldn't be in charge now. So there got to be a time where it flipped. But by that time, you're going to have to deal with a whole new type of white man. There's going to be a crazy sexually transmitted disease, crazy, you know, black man and deeper troubled so-called mulatto man that is now trying to maintain the old position in a world of more of a so-called Latino or Latino so-called Asian dominant economic scope put out by Humboldt, as well as this sociologist named Stockton. So all of these creations, you know, all just more traps and all more like BS for us to fall into. So when I looked at the whole scope of everything, I realized that I am a Hebrew, you know, I am a Phoenician, I am a Canaanite, I am a Moabite, I am a, you know, North African. I am an Almagrabian. I am a noble of the Societies of Republic Americanos Estados. I am a eel, because these things resonate with me. I've always felt more connected to these, and these things were organic, like the Nation of Gods and Earths and all that. That's an American so-called folk religion. That's something that we grew up in. We grew up in a time where they used to come up and ask you if you was righteous and all of that. You have to have your lessons and stuff on you. That's a time that white folk don't only know about because they dissected the brain of a nigga who they could extract it from, or a nigga told them the story, or they listened to the Super Heru radio. They don't understand the nuance of what that was, how that felt when somebody asked you that, or you saw somebody ask the person that. That was your first glimpse of real knowledge. Whether we know it or not, we know now. That's why if those of us that got further into that went to the head of whatever we was dealing with, because we was dealing with a form of organic knowledge of alchemy that was brought forth through numbers and letters that unlocked phase in us, that opened us up to a whole aspect of esotericism and exoterism that we had no knowledge of, that was kept secret by our so-called Freemasonic fathers and uncles and shit, because they was getting drunk or having sex rituals or orgies and shit, whatever, at the lodge that they was in. Or worse, they was just totally into the empty ritual, sitting around talking shit about who wasn't paying dues, and then going back to and then keeping that secret. Can you imagine that? At least with the niggas that was doing the crazy shit, at least they had something to actually keep a secret about. Can you imagine the ones that was so lazy in knowledge that that's all they did? That's why they were so crotchety. That's why your grandfathers and them was so crotchety and ornery as they got older, because they was concealing something that they didn't even know, and then blamed our generation for it, because that's what they was told to do through the Masonic jurisdiction that was passed down, through the Southern jurisdiction specifically, which is the Scottish Rite, which is why this nigga Pharrell will be singing Happy with a goddamn kilt on. Scottish Rite ritual. But niggas would rather be Scottish than Moorish. Being Moorish means you actually got to love your wife. You know what I'm saying? You actually got to listen to the shit she say. You dig? You actually got to call her when you out. These are things at a time where we were taught the exact opposite, whether our fathers or mother told us or not. I've been trained to believe that when my woman tells me something about what I should do, she nagging me. I've been trained to do that. And what did that do? Nothing. But who taught me how to do that? Where did I learn that? Nobody said, okay, when somebody tells you something you should hear, don't pay attention to that shit. Think they bullshit. No, that's something that was somehow ingrained in how I dealt in the communication with my mother. But I'm not special. This is how we all was talked to. We all was brought up like that. If you came up in the crack era, that's how it was. They had to talk to you fast, and you had to be where you were supposed to be. Because if you wasn't, anything could happen, yo. That's when you got fucked up. It used to be you could go to your friend's house and chill. And then after you left your friend's house, you went home. But kids don't do that no more. They don't even go to each other's house. They just be out. They just be out in the street because they don't feel they could be they self in their house. Because a lot of us been turned into our parents. Because that's what we was taught to do. They didn't teach us to do nothing else but to follow to toe the line, man. So when you decided to become conscious, you became the first light in the family's history since the last time the light went out. You became the light of Zartha, like in Men in Black 2. Are the light of Zartha, Rosaria Dawson? You know what I'm saying? Take this black man with you. But this nigga then decided to become just a letter. He J. Because in saving the world, his pops, who turns out was the general, wound up getting taken out. And the white man had to wipe his memory and let him get raised up basically as a Negro to eventually come into it to tap him again to now join the organization, the Masonic Order. How can it be the Men in Black if he's a black man? We flip the letters, we get IBM. A lot of the computers and the components and all that stuff, computer fancy technology and all that is old IBM stuff. Left over from the Nazis. That's what they showed you in Captain America with Arden Zola, computerized intelligence that they put into it so that way they went through Operation Paperclip, brought all of the Nazis over here, and these Nazis who were still Hydra, a.k.a. Nazis or whatever it is, Thule or whatever they are, they wind up taking over SHIELD, and therefore SHIELD is really Hydra. Therefore, the whole intelligence apparatus of the United States is really a foreign agency dedicated to the premise. This is how ill Hydra is in terms of the concept of the organization. They're dedicated to that mankind cannot rule itself, so it has to be ruled by members of mankind, and that is Hydra. That's the basis of a corporation. That's the basis of the past 250 years, 75 years in our blood pattern that we've been out here. We don't just keep returning because we want to all the time. I think it be happening because it's a part of our higher self that knows that in order for us to fully leave this place behind, we got to experience the highest aspect of what we perceive love to be. So whatever that love is what it's supposed to be. It becomes what we want. So I, personally, have chosen to love my family. You see what I'm saying? So that means everything up until a point that I realized that that became my focus, everything in the universe then became, of the material aspect, became of challenging that notion to get me to deny that. So in focusing on family, I got more internationality as a way of preserving the unit of what the family is, but then realizing that the basis of procreation is the perpetuation of an identity, the act of knowing oneself. That's the only reason why we keep doing this thing. So the dead don't have no guilt. You think Hitler give a damn about all the Jews he killed? You think Al Capone give a damn? You think any of these other drug dealers that give a damn right now? You think Ike Turner give a damn about how many times he slapped Tina? The dead don't have no guilt. They don't care. So the people that's still using the dead as a means to perpetuate an idea. So when you see Elvis in a Tag Heuer ad, you see what I'm saying? You know Elvis didn't wear the Tag Heuer, or did he? Even if he did, you only associate that now the Tag Heuer watch with Elvis. So if you like Elvis, you'll get the watch. It has nothing to do whether it's a good watch or not. It has to do with whether or not you think that this will bring you closer to this icon. And not have icon or icons of aspects of your higher or lower self. Because these things become empowering for you to be able to go into the world and be yourself, which then means that you don't attract things. Certain things is just not going to go down with me. You know what I'm saying? So, there's an element in terms of a metaphysical design that says then I'm limiting myself. I'm limiting my experience because I am choosing not to do something. But in me choosing not to experience screwing somebody over for money, you see what I'm saying? I am choosing a better reality for myself. You see what I'm saying? So I'm actually going beyond the actual physical experience about what it would be like to go through that and then get the backhand karma and then have to come clean and then ask for forgiveness. I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to engage with someone that I don't want to engage with. You see what I'm saying? Because it's more to me in the exchange with the person in terms of I know this person knows me. There's very few people in life that you really get that with, where somebody actually knows you. You understand what I'm saying? Because only you know you. You see what I'm saying? Only you know who you are. So when you actually get somebody who gets who you are, knows who you are, and accepts that aspect of you, you see what I'm saying? You now have what everybody wants, but nobody is acting like they want. Everybody acting like they out there just partying, doing sex tapes and shit because they coming up, they getting their money, they blow. No, they not. They done sold a part of themselves that they can never get back. No matter what they do, they got to die. They actually got to go through physical death now to get rid of that. And you better hope that you don't go into the next life with the memory you got now. Because then you'll be playing this shit out in the next life. That's how they got niggas. They got niggas feeling like in order to be metaphysical and conscious and aware of your culture and Egyptian and all this other shit, that you can't have no rational thought in this, that you got to be positive all the time. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? You know how many positive people wind up getting taken out for involving themselves in shit they don't really have nothing to do with for the sake of trying to bring balance to the situation? Nah, that's not what it called for, man. Being yourself is declaring nationality to yourself, then allows you to take on an earthly nationality that reflects yourself, which then allows the material world around you to then deal with you in the capacity of what that has been known to be. So you don't deal with a dog like a cat. You don't deal with an old woman the way you deal with a young woman. You deal with what you're presented with. You don't deal with a car like a bike. So if you don't do that in anything else, why would you, the first thing you get a little money or whatever, you want to see what it's like? Oh, I'm going to see what it's like to go and get this white girl and do whatever. If you only having sex with this bitch because she white, there's something wrong with you. If you only having sex with this bitch because you think something's black, something wrong with you. Because your focus, your whole appetite now is about the idea that the color is what's making it different. You're obsessed now with the aspect of the color. The color is what's making the sex different. You're not thinking about the genetic compatibility. You're not thinking about the psychoreactive compatibility. You're not thinking about none of that. It's about the animal aspect. And that's cool if that's what you want to experience. But when you experience things in an animal state, that's the state that whatever you experience from that is going to be in. There's going to be something animalistic about it from that point on. That's just what it is. I've never seen a slug not leave a trail of slime. I've never seen that in my life. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things that just happen, and that's just how they are. I've never seen a man die on the cross and raised from the dead in 3 days. I've seen movies about it. I've read stories about it, but I've never physically seen that. You understand? I've never physically with my own eyes seen Noble Jew Ali in the physical flesh. You see what I'm saying? So what I associate what this man brought to us or to me is based upon what I have seen, both positive and negative in it. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not deluding myself with this. You dig? I'm taking it from the perspective of what or how it was supposed to have been given if it was given unto us in the proper fashion by the others. But because of their egos and their time that they were born, they did what they felt they needed to do and still don't. So am I to now chastise them or come out against them myself? No. That would be antagonistic and in violation of Act 5, I would be causing confusion. So if niggas want to write books about how the Moors ain't Moors, let them do that, man. Let these niggas masturbate on this topic as much as they want, man. Let these niggas go crazy with it. Let them go to the highest mountain and say that they are not Moors. Let them do it, man. Let them strangle themselves with that saying. I don't care. Like, at this point in the game, if we are focused that much on not being something, then you should not even think about it. You shouldn't have nothing to do with it. Real talk, man. You should have nothing to do with it. If you feel that strongly about it, well, you are willing to just be the pariah of this aspect when there's so many other things, when you are providing, where there's nothing provided that is bringing about an ulterior aspect or motive of getting people together. When niggas are still reeling from the first shit that these niggas put down on them. The more confusion that's caught, the more names these niggas get. The more they create more in the world to be substantiated in a manner that is not bringing harmonious action amongst the whole. Sometimes it takes the outsider to somebody else to look at you and say, oh, there's this. I see this as different. You see what I'm saying? We can't all be in the same ciphers, man. We can't. That's not unity. Being around each other and passing money around each other ain't saying that we together, because that money ain't going into nothing where all of us together is getting paid, where all of us together is coming up. But now we got our own center. All of the money, all over the years, all of these lectures and shit be coming. How come niggas ain't put together to get their own shit? They actually own spot where they ain't got to leave. They ain't got to shut it down. They could be over 24 hours a day if they want. Think they going to do that? No. But a nigga like me, I'm putting it out there. Send me $25,000 and see what I do with it. Matter of fact, nah. Send me $75,000 to $1 million and watch what I do with that shit. Niggas ain't going to do it because niggas ain't really ready to really come out of their shit. Because I'm the type of nigga to make it happen. Well, you don't even see me because it's not even about me. It's about what needs to be done. But nobody want to do that. Everybody want to act like they doing that. So, you know, I'm like Ron O'Neal in Superfly. Like, okay, y'all niggas ready to go right now? Y'all niggas ready to do it now? No. Then get the fuck out of here and let me go pimp these hoes and sell these drugs. Now, I'm not pimping hoes and selling drugs, but I agree with the sentiment. Because niggas will be on YouTube all day showing guns and all of that about the white man all day. About another nigga all day. But this beast roll up on you. These niggas step away and let this nigga get carted away. You dig what I'm saying? So don't put yourself in situations around people and around energy that is not conducive to real upward mobility, because you're not going to get nothing from it. You're just going to get more and more put off from what's real, because what's real is really has got to come from you. So again, I'm speaking to myself, I'm speaking to the ancestors of the series A, B, and C, also the ancestors girdling the earth through the ionosphere. Just coming out of this Grand Cross in April, which is really hard. Like, all of this is real talk, man.
Noble Ali at least gave you something that says that you give respect to everybody's religion, but you something else. You something else, and that's why niggas hate. That's why people that's on that I'm black, you black. Nah, man, I'm black, but I'm not black like that. Now, if that ever become a T-shirt, you already know who's gonna come and get their money from that, because that's how niggas be doing us, man. And I use the term nigga like that because really, that's what I grew up hearing. Like, I grew up hearing all of that from white people, from black people, from Asian people, from police, from movies. Like, this is what y'all niggas been talking. Y'all been using this word since. I don't see it stopping. You got niggas that's not even niggas calling themselves niggas. Mexicans calling themselves niggas. Koreans calling themselves niggas. White women calling themselves niggas. So what? It should be banned? Nah, like one of the comedians said, make me a check. Send me a check for it. Dead the word. Of course, now the niggas making money off it. Now you want to dead it. That's how these niggas do, and that's what I mean. These boule, these Greek niggas, these type of niggas, man. These niggas be really. When I say Greek, I'm not even talking about these fraternity niggas. That's not even Greek shit they doing. They got y'all on some subhuman, quasi-African shit. They got you on some Africans are inhuman, and we're going to emulate you after that because you being in this place means that you adopt this aspect of your culture or blood being from this mythic history that we've created based upon the triangle trade, the Middle Passage, and the transatlantic slave trade. So none of that's real. There was more Moors imported out of America than imported in. Moors. But Africans, that's why they make a difference between American slavery, American slavery, African slavery. So like I said, man, this is the time in coming together and being unit and allowing people to hang themselves with their own rope. It's not for you to be out there and even supporting that. But if you want to support that, cool, man. Do it. But know that you're supporting a foregone conclusion and things that are not really providing a unification of any stream of thought. This is more of a contest. This is more of the Civil War aspect of our community, in our community's history. We're going through a civil war where all of these so-called aspects of consciousness are vying for control over your yay or nay, whether or not they are the true aspect of black consciousness. Harumph, harumph, harumph. That's what they're providing for you. On TV, they're doing it. Western mainstream, they're doing it, all of that. So if you want to sell out, you got a million images for that. You could be Rihanna, you could be Beyonce, you could be Lady Gaga, you could be any of these harlots of Babylon. You could be anyone. Halle Berry, look at where she's at. Still want to be her? Still want to be called nigger by your baby father, who's a white German Nazi? Yeah, probably. Some people, yeah. Some black people is like, yeah. There's a whole contingent of black people that get off on racial porn, like racial dehumanizing porn and shit. Like there's an element of that, and there's also an element of us that is into seeing how far we can kind of be in service, almost to our detriment, for other people. But for our own people, it's like, nah, it's too much of a hassle. That's a bred behavior. That's something that we have been indoctrinated to perpetuate amongst each other. So unless we're willing to accept that and move on and create something better and unify behind something that we know we are, and move away from leaders that just want to be pundits on TV and stuff, or drive a fancy car or whatever, all of that is being swept away with the flood of Noah that they come out with right after the Son of God movie with Jesus. So they're bringing you back through time. Now they're about to put on hieroglyphics, right? With white people in Egypt again, with one black woman acting as Nefertiti. Then they trying to come out with the new Star Wars where they trying to make Lupita like Princess Leia. Like, what? Princess Leia is not black. Right? I'm black and I know that. She's patterned after a black Hopi woman. That's a Hopi headdress of the braiding that she's wearing and a Grecian tunic and whatever she's wearing. So that's Moorish and all that. But you know how these white people do. Like, you trying to remodel. Like, you can't remake Star Wars. You got to go back further or more forward. You can't try to remake shit that we already know. Like, you dig what I'm saying? Like, you can't. There's not going to be another Luke for me. You know what I mean? Maybe for my son. But Luke for me is always going to be Mark Hamill. Not because I like white men or white people or blondes, but because that was the archetype of the fantasy that cemented the possibility for me to do something like the Dark Skull 418. So that means something to me. That's Americana. That's American pop. But that's something that was put out there for me to give energy to, and my generation give energy to, that way now when I say it, you feel what I'm saying. That's a part of our culture. That's more science too. That's more science of America, more science in your temple of or in America. That's it. That's what G.I. Joe and all that, that's what all that shit is. That's what all of it is. That's what all of this is. Because that was the last empire and paradigm that was really functioning on an isonic level, on a certain level, that gave birth to what we perceive as Western world based on the so-called Freemasons that inherited the debt that was given to them, a.k.a. called the white man's burden. He is burdened with a false sense of superiority that he knows that he doesn't have, that he's got to perpetuate because that's what he was bred to do. He is a form of anti-life. That's how they have positioned themselves to us. Don't they always play the vampire? Don't they always play the monster? Don't they always play the killer, the slasher, the rapist, Dexter? Don't they always do that? They always do that. Niggas just started getting into that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? We didn't really even entertain shit like that until Onyx. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how real shit is, man. We didn't even entertain shit like that, Freddie and all that, till like shit like Onyx and that shit was out. NWA and all that. Rap was all fun up until then. Even though niggas was getting killed and hustling and pimping and all that and stealing money and bootlegging records and all that behind the scenes, it was still fun to us. We ain't know none of that. So it's the same thing with everything else, man. We grew up in America. So we're Americans. We're Americans, like Dr. Yaffa, the Honorable Dr. Yaffa Bey say. We're American Autochtons. These niggas can copyright that shit all they want. It don't matter. These niggas ain't from here. You show me a bone of your ancestor from over 15,000 years ago, nigga. Show me that. And I'll show you the one from the University of South Carolina, nigga, that goes back to over 485,000 years. That's a black man based on an African-American haplogroup bloodline that they found in South Carolina. Duh, that's it. So, again, you can't get no older than that. Everybody else came after. Sorry, guys, I'm not trying to diss you. You know, whatever your culture was, it's all good and all of that. But the reason why you don't have no respect for the so-called black man and black woman in America is because they are the real Aboriginal Americans. And you treat them the same way that you treat them in Australia, the same way you treat them in China, the same way you treat them in Dubai, the same way you treat them in New Delhi, the same way you treat them in Israel. In Israel, stealing, taking African businesses, enslaving Ethiopians, forced sterilization. They doing the same shit over here. And Negroes is helping them do it. But these Negroes over there, they wearing yarmulkes, so they different. They Ethiopians that agreed to join up with the system and oppress their own people. So they'll treat them like good lap dogs, rub their head, give them a check, and send them a white woman or white man to cement them further in the reality by having a mulatto kid. That's what they do. And you let them do it. And then you wonder why the relationship don't work out and things like that. Because people, we allow ourselves to become agendas. I can't be an agenda of something that I have no participation in. So niggas can hate Moors all they want. You can have 1,000 Moors to do credit card schemes or adverse house schemes or whatever they doing. That has nothing to do with me and the Moral Science Temple I'm a part of. It has nothing to do with anything I'm doing. The only way it could be that is if you try to frame it and make it look like that. And you can't do that because you don't have nothing to work with. When you hear me on the phone, when you tap in my phone and it's saying Homeland Security, whoever else, you already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the same shit I was talking about from before I had a cell phone in 2000. I just got a cell phone in 2000, G. Like we wasn't even on the grid. I wasn't even on the grid like that. But having a family and being a man, you have to do things to somewhat cement yourself to a reality, whether you want to or not. Because that's what it takes to be a man. That's what I'm learning. But again, nobody taught me that. This is something that I had to do. So you got some niggas that's scared to even do that. They don't want to make no decision to go out and do their own. So niggas look at me like, oh, word, that's dope. Yeah, it is dope, nigga. Then help. You see? So this temple ain't going to build itself. We need a brick and mortar building. We need all of that. We need somebody that's listening out of 4.5 million listeners. Somebody that's listening got $25 million. They is just going to buy a bunch of Birkin bags and shit with that they don't want. I got a 501c3 number and all that right now. It could be a total donation. You get the money back. Nigga, it's real talk. Like niggas ain't. I don't care what anything else is going on has nothing to do with what has to go on. And what has to go on is that we need a central base for our people. But our people are those people who subscribe to an idea that they exist beyond the color and the designation that they've been given based upon how they've been indoctrinated to hate whitey, which means that they hate themselves and hate women. Hate whitey, hate yourself, hate women. That's the mantra that you're given as a young black man growing up here. Hate yourself, hate women, hate your people. That's it. If you rise above that, you move away from your people. You see what I'm saying? Because you really can't live with your people because some of these niggas will try to take what you got. Because that's how much they've been bred with the same thing you've been bred with. So if you grew up in the same barrel, you already know how that barrel works. So you're going to try to rise to the top, climb to the top over whoever, and then climb out that barrel. And then if you're thinking like a real crab, you, instead of crawling back to the ocean, you crawl up into the other barrel. That's how they got niggas, going from one barrel to the next with the ocean right there. So look, it basically boils down to that. Like I said, we're properly established. You dig what I'm saying? We're properly established, but I'm not going to go into how it's been properly established and all of that and do a YouTube tape on and all that. All of that is for youngsters, man. I'm a young, old dude. You know what I mean? So there's a way that things is supposed to go. If you want to know, hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com. If you want to donate, hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com. But like I said, if you want to see something shown up happen, then again you'll support the home team, which is Team Cordoba. But at the same time, we are not beholden to anybody for what they give. It got to be from what it is you give up. Because this ain't just because we didn't sacrifice at all. Talk about a Mithraic sacrifice, which is what wearing a 5-green cap, aka a fez, turban, tarbouche, jewel, diadem, feather is about. We've sacrificed almost too much. Therefore, and I can say it because it's us. And if you've seen the work and the things that we've done with the little we've done a lot. So imagine what we could do with a lot. You got known people literally biting the same shit that I'm seeing that we doing. So I'm supposed to just look at that and be like, oh, that's a coincidence. After reading the goddamn Kabbalion and the Hermetic principles and Hermes Trismegistus and the Tetragrammaton, I'm supposed to just believe a coincidence now? Like, come on, man. Like, I'm reading texts now where they speculating on niggas' religion. We're like, oh, well, he's a major hip-hop star, but he's a 5%er. What, because he wear a universal flag? If he ain't building with none of the elder gods on 1-2-5, he ain't. You know what I'm saying? Or any gods that you or I know. you're not really doing it. If you sending charity money to all of these fake orphans or all that in Africa, but you ain't doing nothing with all the bread you got, you 5% wearing a flag, you ain't doing nothing for the law school, and these niggas are still buying your record, of course they slaves. Of course they will do that. He ain't got to do nothing because you niggas don't demand no respect. You don't actually put yourself out there to say that shit is whack. That's why a lot of times niggas don't like it, because as a man today, you're not supposed to have no opinion. I'm not supposed to have no opinion. I'm supposed to tell you that it's all right, that it's all good, that it's not really like that. You know what I'm saying? If you work hard, that's what I'm supposed to be telling you. And you're supposed to be buying it, right? Nah. Like I said, if you want to donate, you can go to dukeatears@gmail.com right now and donate to people that's really striving to make something really happen. Not no bullshit. I don't have no DVD on this. I don't have no goddamn what do you call it? Dossier that I can send you. It's too much. I got too much shit. I got shit that I'm just waiting to do. And niggas is happy. And I'm feeling niggas. I be feeling niggas happy, like, yo, word, they don't have the support. They not fucking with us. They not coming up. But I'm coming up anyway. Cause that's how Allah works. Allah is seen and heard everywhere. I know what everybody's saying, and I'm not around nobody. That's how deep it is. That's how deep in the game Team Cordoba is in this thing. And it's good because what we are is the little voice in the back of the head that you can never say that nobody laid it out and told you how it was. You can never say it. You don't have that luxury no more. I don't have that luxury no more. So everything I got to do, if I'm saying that I could really do something with it, that means I can really do something with it. You dig? For everybody, where everybody could benefit and start to actually see something happen. But niggas don't want to support niggas that's really, really doing it. I'm telling you, man. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. That's why I'm like, prove me wrong, nigga. Show and prove me wrong. Prove me to be a lie. I'll be the first one, and that'll be the last superhit. That will be the day where I'll be like, you know what? Somebody proved me wrong. They actually came through, blessed this person. We about to happen. You dig? So again, on the last, as we go out, check out www.cordobaorganics.com, which is the illest body lotion you'll ever get in your whole life. Created by a Moor based on the formula of the Moors. Created by my queen, Selena, the Empress of 10,000 years, a.k.a. CE10K. We'll save that. Also, check out Truth Be Told on YouTube. We're coming up on, I think, what episode, babe? 7th, the Guard episode, Circle 7 episode, so tune in for that. Also, check out www.aseerthedukeatears.com. Also, check out www.darkskull418.com for the ebook or hard book. Also, check out www.sagasod.com. Also, again, love and light to everybody. Hit me up about the ecclesiastical district, temples, whatever. Hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com. Again, this is to give love and life to everybody, even our enemies. They're actually our biggest fans. Thank you for all the hate. We're transmuting that into love, regardless to who or what. And, again, blessings to the ancestor. I was told that the Empress Veridice passed to the essence. And we want to wish her safe travel. This is the day before Ishtar, which, again, is not a coincidence. Listen to what we were talking about tonight. Spread the word. Like I said, donate for real, to niggas that's showing up doing it, because something going to happen from it, I'm telling you. And this is the time that only we can choose the destiny that we want for self. So position, heal thyself, know thyself, and know all things. In the name of love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality, the I-sonomy, the I-son, I-mother, I-son, the empire of mothers and sons, the Societas Republica de los Americanos Estados, the Union of the Six Nations, the Iroquois Confederacy, the Monarchan Empire, the Almoroccan Empire, the Al-Maghrebia, Al-Aqsam, Al-Sheikh Mexam, Al-Amazon. Peace. Hit us up at houseofl@hotmail.com.